Hey everybody, it's Matt Shu from Upright Health, and today I got another video for you goalies out there. So as I've gotten older, as I've learned how to use my body better, I've paid a lot more attention to different little tweaks that help me play goalie better. I'm older now, and that means I need to know how to take care of my body, and I need to know how to move my body in ways that keep it resilient and keep it able to do what I want it to do for the long term. So I wanted to share another idea for you younger goalies out there. It can also be very helpful for you older goalies, but hopefully for you younger guys out there, it's something that'll help you play better and also basically prevent any sort of like low back pain and any kind of those annoying kind of hip injuries. The topic I talked about in a previous video for goalies was about the hamstrings and making sure that you have your hamstrings stretched out so that you're actually able to do things like this, you're able to get into your crouch properly without rounding. Today is actually sort of looking at that same topic in a different way. It's looking at being able to actually tuck your pelvis properly. So what I've noticed actually, there was a period where I was really injured and I had to completely stop playing goalie. I had to stop for 6 or 7 years, possibly 8 years, where I just didn't play goalie at all. And during that time I got really weak in my abdominals. I actually deliberately tried to weaken my abdominals and put myself into what's known as an anterior tilt. And when I got back into playing goalie, I noticed that I just felt really weak with my push-offs. I noticed that going from this position and just trying to get somewhere to the top of the crease felt slow and just sort of just off balance. Moving from one post to the other post, it felt like I had to rise up and then come back down to get there, which if you're a goalie, you know is really not ideal. So I played around with different things. I've been doing strength training, all that stuff, and it didn't really seem to affect my ability to maintain my altitude and move properly, right? So what I started doing was thinking about, well, what's my pelvis doing and how am I supposed to think about my pelvis when I'm moving? So this is all a very cerebral exercise to do during a beer league game, but you have to do it somewhere. So what I started thinking about was what are my hips doing when I'm in this crouch? So let's say I'm on the post, I'm looking over this way. What are my hips doing? And so what I found was I had this tendency with these weak abdominals to actually be in an anterior tilt, even like in this position. So I mentioned in a previous video that a lot of guys will end up like this, which is also bad. But I was going into this position, which is the opposite. It's really actually it's a strain to stay in this position, and it also just basically sucks all the energy, all the power out of your hips as well. So if you go this way, you're going to end up with some problems. If you go this way, you also end up with problems. So depending on who you are and what your body does, what your tendencies are, you need to adjust a little bit. So what I found was I was going into this position in this heavy arch, and then when I needed to like lift my leg or just move it, repositioning was tough. And this is something that happens with a lot of athletes in general, is they get stuck into this position and then their hip mobility suffers. So what I found that works really well for me, and it might work well for you depending on again, your tendencies, your situation, is to actually think about just keeping my back a little bit flatter. This is advice I give to a lot of athletes who have that severe anterior tilt. It's just learning how to get the hips in the right position, the pelvis in the right position. So for me, that actually means when I'm playing, I want to think about pointing and drawing a line with my pubic bone. For the guys out there, you can be a little more gross if you want to, but since this is not a hockey locker room, I'm not going to use the metaphor that I'm sure you're thinking about right now. Basically, you use your pubic bone to draw a line to the puck and have your pubic bone be pulled towards that puck a little bit, right? So when I'm watching a guy coming into the zone, my tendency is to let my lower back dump and then try to push forward. Instead, what I do is I think about having that line there drawn towards the puck so that I have that slight tuck in my pelvis so that I can move forward much easier. Now, if you're somebody who's already like this is probably not a mental cue that's going to work for you, but if you're somebody like me who tends to be in that anterior tilt, this is going to be pretty helpful because you're then getting into a good position with your hips, and then you can drive forward really, really easily. So if you're somebody who has the opposite, I definitely check out the previous video, the prior video where I talked about hamstring stuff for goalies and how that affects your low back. If you're somebody who is in an anterior tilt, who has that tendency like I do, then you might want to use this mental cue to kind of draw that line as if there's a rope attached to the puck that kind of pulls your hips just a little more forward. It pulls your pelvis just a little forward, tucks you a little bit so that you can maintain that position. What I found for me is it helps me stay on top of the puck a lot better. It helps me stay square to the puck a lot better. And it definitely helps me move side to side a lot better and forward back a whole lot better. I noticed it actually backing up is probably the most noticeable because in this position, trying to back up, I just have no ability to control my backward momentum, and I definitely need that little tuck. So I hope that little tip helps you out, goalies out there. Hopefully some of the knowledge that I've picked up over the years with all the injuries I've had can help some of you guys avoid those very same problems. So give it a shot, play around with it, and please remember that pain sucks, life shouldn't.